Squirrels! So hello, and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra video. My name is Chris, and today we will be playing some Lucian. What I try and do on this channel is to try and play as many different champions as I can, and I've got through most of them at this point, I think. But Lucian is one that has been untouched for a little while. And so I thought, let's build a deck around Lucian and let's see where that takes us. Because I think Lucian is quite an interesting champion. He is a bit weak, of course, with only the 2 health. But when he levels up, he's one of the few units in the game with double attack. And each round, the first time an ally dies, rally is pretty good. Lucian himself is completely solid, completely playable. I think he's now actually seeing play in sort of Bannerman decks and the like. You know, he sort of replaced Fiora in those kind of decks, I think, as people realize that Garen and Fiora were actually not as useful as Lucian and Vi in those decks. But so he's completely viable in that sense and can, you know, fit in quite well. And but it's not his deck, right? Lucian and Vi, or specifically Lucian in that deck, is actually probably one of the worst cards in the deck. It's like a fine 2-drop that sometimes is going to net you a lot of value, but in general is kind of okay, and you know, isn't much. But this deck is sort of more built around Lucian and the concept of things dying. So let's talk you through the list. Well, we've got Crawling Sensation. We are also pairing Lucian with Elise, meaning that we have some pretty strong 2-drops, and Crawling Sensation obviously goes with Elise. It goes with things dying. It gives us 2 more spiders, which can also die and potentially cause a threat. And the great thing about Lucian is if you can threaten to level him up, it means that your other units, even your weaker units like these 2 spiders, become big threats for the opponent, because now they can't attack, they can't block, they essentially have to just stay there and wait whilst Lucian potentially levels up. We're pairing that with the best 1-drop from Demacia, Fleet Feather Tracker. Obviously him having Challenger means that he will often die. As you know, you will challenge something that you want to essentially have him die with, which obviously again goes with Lucian pretty well, and it's just a very strong card in general. Then we've got Cursed Keeper, an obvious in this list, I think, you know, obviously something like this is going to be in there that gives us a 4/4 when it dies, and hopefully it will be dying. Elise, as I've said, not only is a very strong 2-drop in herself, and as we see, we've got other ways of enabling more spiders and therefore potential for leveling Elise up as well, but when she attacks, will create a 1/1 spider all the time, obviously anytime she attacks, and that spider will often die, or if the spider doesn't die, Elise will die. But it does give us an extra body that could potentially die for Lucian. Glimpse Beyond is an obvious in this deck. I don't need to explain why killing an ally to draw 2 is potentially pretty good. Haunted Relic is probably the easiest way of leveling up Lucian in one fell swoop. Obviously it gives you 3 ephemeral little 1/1s, which can be used pretty well for blocking or getting through some extra damage, as of course an opponent will often not want to block these little things. And they will level up Lucian, and so if you play this with a Lucian on the board, you can put Lucian at the end of your attacks, and by the time these have all hit, Lucian will hopefully have leveled up by that point. Lucian himself requires 4 allies or a Senna Sentinel of Light to die, and 4 is you know, not nothing. It is quite difficult at points, but if you can manage it, obviously the payoff is pretty massive. Lucian also gives us Relentless Pursuit, which can be used, you know, pretty well with this deck overall. You know, oftentimes if an opponent has left the board open or whatever, we can potentially go in for a Relentless Pursuit if we've got Lucian down. 1 Purify, I'm always a big fan of 1 Purify. It just seems like anytime I play Demacia, I'm always putting in 1 Purify. I just think it's very, very important in certain matchups. Think of your They Who Endures, right? But it often comes up in just a lot of even minor cases, like purifying a Broom Crew rookie, right? That can be potentially game swinging, or a Crimson Disciple. You know, these kind of things can win you games with just 1 Purify, and so I always like 1 Purify. Single Combat is always a 3 of though, and always will be if the card stays the same. Very powerful card, and obviously we don't mind things dying, so if our thing dies, that's fine with us as well. Good way to potentially save Lucian from any combat based damage. Val Feast obviously goes with the least as well. More of a defensive tool, but I think goes pretty well with the deck. Will give us a spider, gives us some health, kills things, very good. Blighted Caretaker, obviously Lucian, again another best friend of Lucian, as and especially goes well with Curse Keeper, of course. You kill something, so you've killed one thing. These two will also die, these two saplings. So that's 3 things already for Lucian, so we're already 3/4 of the way there. And that's pretty good. Senna, obviously, if you can get Lucian and Senna down on the board, for those of you who don't know, if Lucian dies, Senna will get 1/1 and double attack. So she becomes a 5/3 with double attack as well, which obviously is very, very strong. And if you can get both down, you essentially cause the opponent a real problem where, unless they can kill them both, you know, simultaneously with something like a Ruination or something, one of them is going to get the double attack and is going to cause you a big problem. Now, normally, obviously, they'll kill the Lucian as they don't want to have the continuous rally effect, but getting a 5/3 double attack is also pretty nuts. And essentially means that every time you attack, you're going to be killing something. Vanguard Redeemer as a 1-of, just to potentially draw some more cards. As you see, we don't have the most card draw, we've got Glimpse, but that's it. And obviously, again, things are going to be dying, so Vanguard Redeemer is a nice 1-of to cycle through our deck. Also, it's a 3/3, so that's a fine unit in itself. Grizzled Ranger. I don't need to explain or justify why this card would go in any deck, really. But it does fit well within this deck, of course, because, again, it's got a last breath effect, and anything with last breath is going to fit in this deck. And you know, if it's a threat that they have to deal with, and normally they will block the first time this attacks as the 4/1. So that's 1 death, and it's still going to give us a 4/4, which, you know, is just ridiculously strong. Brood Awakening, as we've seen, we have quite a few spider options, and Brood at 5 mana is just such a good card. And anyone, you know, you play against Karina Control, and this card can just win games pretty much by stalling out, or even be as an aggressive tool. And as I say, we've got a lot of spiders, so it can be an aggressive tool as well. And again, gives us a lot of things to potentially be dying. And finally, 2 Radiant Guardians just at the top end. Again, this just fits within the deck. It doesn't need too much to say other than, yeah, this is a good card in this deck, you know, particularly against aggro matchups. If you can get this down and even get 5 life back once, you've pretty much probably won the game at that point. So, with that said, let's take this Lucian deck into some games. So, Burn Aggro. Let's test this one out. Burn Aggro. We definitely need Fleet Feather. That's always one thing that we definitely need to see. I don't mind one single combat, but the rest is probably a bit much. Crawling Sensation is fine in certain hands, but not this one. That hand is a little better, I guess. We unfortunately don't have the turn 1, so we have to hope that he's not on rear guard. A man can dream. But we've got a decent hand here with double Vile Feast, Elise, everything else. We've got an okay hand here. Crimson Disciple would be his best play. That one is actually fine. We can attack, and if he blocks here, then we got the Crawling Sensation anyway. Yep, so we get a nice Crawling Sensation as well now. Got good block with Elise. So we ruin his open attack, and that can be quite important. Obviously he doesn't know that pretty much all of our answers are at fast speed, but that's fine as well. There's a Senna, so I think at this point we just do this, stop that attack. If everything survives, actually we get to level up Elise. Okay, he's got another one. Okay. Apparently this guy... Our full attack actually isn't that bad at all for us. It really isn't that good of a play for him. He trades the entire board for nothing? That was that. I know you're sort of meant to attack all the time, but is that correct there? I'm not sure about that. We do need to win the game at some point. Now, obviously, Cast Salesman is a problem. There it is. But our Elise can still attack and get us a spider. And that's what's important, really. So it didn't ruin the Elise attack, and that's kind of all that we needed to know. That's fine as well. And now we can Vile Feast you. And it's important to do this when he doesn't have a Noxian Fervor up and enabled. And so doing this now might look a bit strange, you wouldn't do it in other matchups, but here it's important because if he is holding Noxian Fervor, we can't let him get the most of that. We do obviously have single combat, and there you go. This deck can beat that deck. So I always think that right now that's like the Tetra deck. Can you beat burn aggro at any point? And this deck has the potential to do that. That's kind of the strength of Shadow Isles, is that even in a deck like this, it can go fast, it can go slow. So, Fortune Ash. Interesting. There's Lucian. There's Elise. All interesting options. I think you have to keep both, but if we're keeping both of them, I don't think we can keep Curse Keeper. I'll drop the Brood as well, just as it's not playable right now, as we see an interesting hand, to say the least. Well, there's potentially Lucian Senna, and that can cause some issues.
The Winter's Claw strikes.
Is he playing Sejuani? No. Okay. No, Sejuani means that we can probably... I mean, we've got a lot of little combos here. We could have gone into this, but I think you first is always correct, and I actually think Senna now is also correct.
You're adorable when you're angry.
Please Rhymefang. I guess we'll... I mean, it doesn't really matter, but... Maybe the... So he's sitting on... what's the card called? What is that card called? The 1-mana freeze. Why can't I think of it now? I actually can't think of its name. You know what I mean. Brittle Steel. He's sitting on Brittle Steel, of course, potentially, and that means that this can essentially block one. But if he does block one, the other will level up. I think technically I should have put the Senna second, because he's more likely to block Lucian.
A fight.
So here it is. Oh, Elixir. Oh. Okay. Yeah, I should... Yeah. This was a mistake. I should have put Senna second, because Lucian was always going to be a bit of a bigger threat. But now we also have a 5-3 with that. So what I think I'm going to do first is actually just purify you. As that's going to give us a nice way to keep our Senna alive. We are going to take a hit here, though, if we let that happen. So we could take potentially here 6. Ah, that's a lot of damage. If I played Lucian, I could kill you. But next turn we got 5 mana. I could go Lucian into Blighted Caretaker. I really could do some damage to him. So I'm going to take a risk here. This might be a little risky. We're gonna skip the block. We go down to 6. Hopefully we can stabilize this turn though. So play Lucian.
A lady has her secrets.
How'd you beat me here? Will we lose the Curse Keeper this way? I think so, right? Maybe. Oh, this is a card I love. Oh no, we got them all. Well, that's good. It also means that if he kills anything else now, he's in trouble. We know he's got no frostbites. So we're going to lead off with these. Let's kill, obviously, probably these two. And then we will attack with everything, and then Lucian. Now he kind of has to block the Senna. Because if he doesn't, he's down on 2, and that's pretty risky. I mean, he's going to kill the Lucian anyway, so I don't really mind. dealing with that. Oh, I think I've made a mistake. Look. This happens, by the way. I think if you press the I mid them blocking, this will happen.
down.
Okay. Ah, you see? You see? Yeah. That's fine with me. You see, you put people really, really down with that. I'm surprised he let Ash die instead of this. Like this, I can block very easily. I think he panicked a bit there. Oh no, Ash would have died from Lucian anyway. Yeah, he didn't really have a great block either way. Got good card draw here. Okay, he's gonna try and kill the Senna. I'll play Elise at this point.
In the shadows.
I'll trade you. I see a reason not to trade you, to be honest. If he goes to something like Elixir of Iron, we can just do this, I think. Do we want to do that? We can still kill it with that. I'm actually fine with that. If he wants to attack the second time, it's fine. And if he doesn't, I've got this, yeah.
Everyone's a garden.
Looking for trouble? It found you.
I think we can afford to attack right now. The Haunted Relic isn't doing too much at this point.
You won't suffer long.
If he's got a Frostbite or something, obviously we've got Glimpse. Yeah. Grizzle Ranger, pretty nice. Fleet Feather, the problem is, of course, Misfortune is causing us some problems here. So, what I think I will still play you. We can essentially just chump block. Okay, there's some spiders, that's pretty nice. So we will just do that and let things die. We'll glimpse you. I don't yeah, make it rain potentially, but I can't think of too many other things that would stop that.
Love ya.
Right now I think we just kind of want to pass, so I'll just play Fleet Feather. I kind of just want to see what he's doing right now and then respond to it. If we needed a panic defensive measure, obviously we've got one. Like right there with that, I'm pretty fine with just, again, tanking a spider into it. I do really like this card. I'm kind of happy if he just attacks with this. It would be probably a bit worse for us if he developed into more and more threats. Yeah, I'll just take that. And then play second ranger.
Right, let's mess some folks up. There's plenty of killing.
Fine.
This
Oh.
ship.
That's less fine. So we'll do this. That's why we kept that 2 mana open. As this is a nice defensive play. It's going to give us the ability to essentially just block out. Actually can't take the damage from any single one of these. Which is a bit frustrating.
Ah, shut up.
So I think we'll just... I'll keep a ranger. Yeah, we'll just do this.
Love ya.
Pretty powerful effect against our board there. That's pretty unfortunate. I won't lie. I think what I'm going to do is first attack with you.
What's that you got there?
She is on 3 or 4 though, that's the problem. She is going to level up. I'm not really sure I have a way of killing her either. Kind of needed a single combat there.
Sharp as my spear.
So, what's the correct play here? I need a single combat. Kind of desperately, because if Misfortune levels up, obviously, she's gonna deal 3 to the Nexus. Hey, single combat. Okay, we have a chance in this game. So what I'm gonna do, he's just continually passing. We have to hope that's not a frostbite. If that's a frostbite, we've lost. What I'll do is play these 2 spiders. I'm gonna single combat you. And we have to hope it's not a frostbite. Oh, yes. Okay, we have a chance. We officially have a chance. Not an amazing chance, but a chance. Okay, there's a Elise with Brood Awakening. That could, you know, be good. We can trade with these pretty well, you know, with the Badger Bears. Iron Fang Wolf. That's. What if he attacks just straight up? It's still not great, right? I kind of want to keep this Elise alive. He just attacks at 1. Okay. This is fine as well. This could be another Citrus Courier. I mean, we can't take any damage, of course, anyway. So we'll trade like so. Now we have Elise.
There's nothing to fear.
The Brood Awakening. And now Elise.
Go ahead.
Can trade into either of these.
Your food.
Unless he can kill her right now. I wonder if this is Citrus Courier number 2. I do think it could be. Haunted Relic isn't going to see much use now, of course.
Let me change into something more.
Oh, this one's coming down to the wire. Okay, there's a Senna. Does Senna do much? Yeah. Thing is, his development, any development he makes, obviously, is still under some threat. So Senna is a good way. Ah, you see? You see? Now we have to get some value of these spiders. So here's my plan. I am gonna kill you. And I am.
Purity and peace.
I think. Am I? I think that's what I'm gonna go with.
Came to wrong place.
Oh, is this a frostbite? Oh my god. Oh no. The top decked harsh winds. Shouldn't have attacked with this spider, we would have been still in the game. Come on. Come on, Valfeast. No, you're not Valfeast. Develop. I dare you. Damn it. Damn it. Ah. Well, that was a fun game. Ugh. Harsh winds. Now you get the harsh winds. I told you it was a courier in his hand, though. I knew it. I just knew it. Because I was like, what other card wouldn't you play? Gosh darn and blast. We kind of needed a Radiant Guardian there, really. She would have been nice. Yeah, you could have turned up at some point. But yeah, this deck, kind of fun. Bit different. This kind of deck has been seen before, but I think, I mean, with Blighted Caretaker and with Grizzled Ranger, you just get these extra things that just bump up the... They just pump it up. They pump up the playability of this deck, I think, quite a bit. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. So if you enjoyed this, then, you know, leave a like, comment, subscribe. You got any questions for me about, you know, this deck, any other deck you've seen, I'll be sure, little voice crack there. I'll be sure to help you out as much as I can. I've been Chris. Thank you for watching. Have a really nice day.